Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Embrace with Christina, the podcast. Today is going to be the second installment, part 2 of Sex and Single Christian Reasons Why You Struggle. This time, we are going to be focusing on the spiritual reasons why you are struggling with sexual immorality. So, I'm excited to jump in. This one's going to be a little shorter than the first one, just because the spiritual reasons tend to be very, very straightforward. Is not as complex because we know exactly, where our fight and temptation comes from. We know that we war in the spirit. Our battle is not against flesh and blood, but we know that it starts on a spiritual level, right? So we are going to just talk about a few topics, kind of dive in a little bit. But as always, if you are returning, thank you for listening and tuning in. If you're new, go and check out part 1 before you dive into part 2. I think you'll enjoy it. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first spiritual reason why you are struggling with sexual immorality is going to be soul ties. So, soul ties essentially can be sexual or non-sexual. I think we're used to talking about them in the sexual sense, but you can have non-sexual soul ties, like with family, with friends, with coworkers. I mean, just anybody that you spend a lot of time around. And the soul tie conversation alone deserves its own podcast episode and its own research, because it's pretty interesting when you dive a little bit deeper into how soul ties work and how they affect you and so on. But today we're just going to talk about the sexual soul ties, because there's many believers that are carrying that weight around and struggling with sexual soul ties from people that they've had relationships with in the past, and that they slept with in the past, because we know the way that God has created sex, he's created it so that when you have intercourse with someone, you form a bond, and it's happening on the spiritual level, but it's happening physically too, because there is a chemical that's released in your brain when you have sex with someone, and it's basically a bonding chemical. And when that happens, you have now given that person a piece of yourself, and they have given a piece of themselves to you. And this is what God means about, a man and woman coming together, and basically they're becoming one flesh in their marriage, because that is truly what happens. And the thing is, because of how our culture just normalize, sex outside of marriage, and that, it's okay to have sex with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or, even just fiance. It's okay to have sex before you're married. And so many people have engaged and have followed that path and engaged in sexual activity before they're married, and experienced breakups, and then got in another relationship and did the same thing and experienced another breakup. And so at some point you end up really collecting all these soul ties, and those soul ties have a huge impact on you and your purity walk. So like I said in part 1, if you've had a really great and positive and lovely experience with someone you weren't married to, and the relationship didn't work out, that stays with you. Our brains pretty much just record everything and stores it in its treasure chest, and which we could call the subconscious. And so it never goes away. And it's something that also, if I'm not mistaken, gets recorded pretty much like in your spine. And this is kind of for anything, like whether it's habits, your brain pretty much will send those signals and recognize patterns and recognize things that bring us a lot of joy, or things that basically bring us a lot of pleasure. And so, like I said, if you had a really great experience with some sexual experience with someone in the past, and you're not with them, then that can cause issues with you walking in purity because you still have a soul tie with this person. So, soul ties can be broken. So don't worry if you are sitting here dealing with one and you're just like, how do you're sitting here like, how do I break this? They can be broken. And so the way that you break a soul tie, this is what I found in my research, but one of those things is to repent and ask God for deliverance. I talked about deliverance before and how you need to go to a deliverance I was going to say concert, deliverance conference. I hope it's not a concert. Okay. Don't, if you go to a deliverance conference and it's structured like a concert, girl or boy, get out of there. Okay. That is not where you need to be. Yeah, go to a deliverance conference, have somebody pray for you, even just have somebody pray for you at your church home, just to release those spirits, because you got to understand the enemy loves to keep people in bondage, and the enemy loves to keep you going on a merry-go-round, because the more you go around in circles, the more you just keep coming back to the same thing over and over again that is really not adding value to your life. It's just distracting you and taking you away from the purpose and the will that God has for you. Yeah, the more you keep doing that, the more that, hey, the devil is happy, because you're not following God's plan, and that's what he wants. And so you have to understand that you could be doing a whole lot more if you weren't having to fight off these spirits. So we know that when two or more are gathered, we send 10,000 demons to flight. So go and get prayer. I kind of jumped a step real quick, but I will say, do that immediately. After you repent, ask God for deliverance, go have someone pray for you. Create distance as well. Create distance between you and whoever this person is you have the soul tie with, or people. Create that distance so that way you have space for healing. You got to get out of that person's energy. You have to, don't follow them on Insta. Don't follow them on any type of social media. Don't look at pictures of them, nothing. You have to actively break this soul tie. And the more distance you have and the more time that goes by, that's how you're going to end up getting over this person or people. And you're going to now be able to reflect and heal and be able to move on. So another thing I want to say is make sure that you fast. The word is clear when it tells us that there are certain spirits that you got to fast and pray for a good minute to get rid of those spirits, because some of these spirits, they roll in packs. And so sometimes it's not just one spirit you're battling multiple spirits. And so in order to get them to bounce, you need to fast. And I recommend fasting for at least 1 month. I've done 1 month fast before, and what this looked like for me was just consuming everything that was Christian based. So Christian music, Christian movies, eating clean, so I don't have different kinds of foods affecting my hormones. What else did I do? Oh, also in the word every day, of course, in the word every day, journaling, prayer journal. I mean, you just basically surround yourself with nothing but the Spirit of the Lord, nothing but Jesus. And I can tell you, it is so powerful when you reach the end of the month and you're the end of that fast, you just feel so good afterwards. I know the first time I did this, I just felt a spiritual weight lifted. It's like everything I was dealing with was just gone. And I also, again, reached out to my strong prayer partner, and she prayed, we prayed together, and it's just them spirits just left. They just left. And that's the thing. We have power in Christ Jesus' name, and we know that demons tremble at the name of Jesus. So we have to be diligent about breaking these ties and getting these spirits away from us, because it's very important. And the last one in this I'll say is to make sure that you create new like hobbies and build community and just a positive environment so you can now connect with the right people. Because if you were like working in toxic environments before, or in, maybe you were in a church that wasn't the best and there was a lot of foolishness going on, you have to know the longer you're in these environments, you start to kind of create some connections and ties with people that you don't want to. And even when you're resisting, right? Because I've been in that space at jobs, resisting and praying and trying to just guard yourself up when you go to when you go to work or church or wherever it is, and you have these people with all this negativity, with all their spirits and all the stuff they're dealing with, and they're trying to project on you, and they're trying to, even when you're fighting and you're resisting, it still will drain you so much because you're constantly in a fight. You're constantly in this spiritual fight. So change your scenery, change your environment. And that's a way that you will break these soul ties. So that's going to round it out for the list of how to break a soul tie. All right. So the second spiritual reason why you're struggling with sexual immorality is because you are not protecting your ear gate, your eye gate, and even your mouth gate. Yeah. So I know the Bible doesn't explicitly talk about the mouth gate. It doesn't say mouth gate, but the Bible does talk about essentially just watching your mouth and being careful what you say. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And, hey, blessings and cursings come out of the same mouth. And basically saying, if you're going to speak words of life. So I know we live in a culture where, it's easy to make a sexual joke. It's easy to engage in certain types of sexual conversations, but you got to understand what that's doing to you. And you just don't want to encourage it. And you also don't want to engage really in conversation like that, because we know people start to get very detailed. They start to get very inappropriate in a lot of these conversations and think like it's cool and it's okay. And so if you're around people like that are just saying the most off the wall things, I mean, even online, sometimes, a true story, it's like even online, there's times where I've read comments and I'm just like, does this person know that everybody can read this? Like, what made you get on here with your name public and your profile picture and write something as nasty and freaky as you just wrote? I mean, I've read some things from people that's just like, okay, you didn't cross the line. Now you are crossing the line. Some very just extreme freaky deaky stuff. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? And it would be on a post just about like a celebrity or something, and just somebody making some comment that they really should have kept to themselves. And so this type of stuff could even happen just in a real life conversation. And, you could just easily change the subject, try to change it and talk about something else. I would say for like men, if you're in conversations and the conversation starts drifting in to talk about women's bodies and, and then it just really starts getting inappropriate, it's like, yeah, you can try to change the subject or exit or whatever you need to do, because you don't need to have that in your ear. Especially people are talking about their sexual escapades and their experiences and the things they did, and they did this and this was so wild and all. Like, you don't need to hear about that. You don't need to hear about it, because you are going to then start ruminating on it and like, oh, okay, well, I wonder what that would be like, or I wonder. And it's just like, so if you're entertaining conversations, then that's problem number one. So you need to stop doing that. The second thing is going to be, of course, eye gate. So that's movies, TV, books. Got to be careful with those things as well. Definitely the books, if you're someone who's into romance novels, and a lot of these romance novels tend to be, kinky. They ain't just an innocent little romance novel. So, you got to be careful. That's kind of more for the ladies when you're watching these things, or even for the men. If somebody gifts you like we used to call back in the day, they would just say dirty magazine, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So if they gift you something that is definitely like, oh no, this is not something that I engage in, it's like, stand your ground as a man of God, and don't entertain it. Movies as well. Yes, movies. So we have to be careful with movies and television shows, because let's be honest, some of these television shows, some of the scenes they put in these shows, you would never have seen anything like that 30 plus years ago. The way things have changed so much with movies and TV, it's just crazy. So you definitely have to censor a lot, because let's be honest, these scenes are like soft porn, and they don't really add much to the story. It's like, yeah, we could have figured out what happened. Like it didn't have to be so visual. And it's like, I think it's kind of like, it just keeps pushing, like, okay, what kind of like, what can we get away with? Like, how far can they go without it actually like being porn? And it's like, well, y'all getting pretty close, because some of these things is just wild. So and these will be like hit shows that everyone's like, oh, you don't watch this show, you don't watch that show. Well, no, I don't want to be watching that or hearing any of it. And because essentially, again, it plants seeds. That's all this stuff does. It plants seeds. And naturally, as humans, when you hear about things that are sexual, when you start talking about things that are sexual, you are going to start feeling sexual. So the less you can talk about it, and not like you being a prude or nothing, because I want to make this very clear. This ain't about like, we're not prudes because we're choosing to live righteously. Okay? Because I will tell you, look, I'm not embarrassed. Nudity doesn't embarrass me. Like, there's certain things, like, it's not about being, oh, I'm so embarrassed, or I'm this and that. No, I'm not. I'm sitting here talking about this freely, because we need to deal with it. We need to make sure that we are living and walking righteously. And the best way to go about it is to be open. Not living in secret, not struggling in secret, because that's what the devil wants. Because then you don't ever get free. So we're talking about it, we're being open about it, we're being adults about it, and we are making sure that we are putting certain parameters in place in our own lives so that we don't slip. That's how you keep yourself guarded up. The Bible uses a certain word called girded. And my pastor actually explained what that is when they say girded, and you'll see them say they girded up their loins and so basically when they were out, and it was like if they need to go out for battle or something, that because of like their clothing, what they were wearing, they would take the bottom and because it was like pretty much like a cloth, and then they would wrap it around like around their waist and everything, so that way they wouldn't be exposed. So they were girding up their loins. And so I know when it talks about the Proverbs 31 woman, it says something, she's girded. Ooh, I'm gonna find it. I'm sorry, y'all. I should have been more more on it. But go to Proverbs 31. It does mention about the same thing. You'll see that word girded again. And so it's mentioned a lot in the Bible about girding up your loins. And so we have to know that it's not just in there for nothing. Like, it's there and repeated multiple times because there's deeper meaning behind it about, in a sense, protecting your intimate areas, protecting your loins. And so when we are protecting our ear gate, eye gate, mouth gate from all of these like sexual enticements, it's like we really are girding our loins and making sure that we're not falling into sin. And of course, the same with music, as far as ear gate as well. Music is another one of them. There was a time where I would just, listen to, well, I do like to listen to all types of music, but I would listen to certain artists, and certain artists I had to stop listening to their music because it just was so freaky deaky. And even though the beat is nice and the music sounds good, it's like, but the lyrics are not. And the lyrics is like, dang, he always singing about this or whatever. And it's just like, you got to be careful with that because, again, you don't want to plant those seeds within yourself. And then now, you're wondering why you're struggling or why you're having certain kinds of thoughts and fantasies because of stuff you were hearing, watching, reading, and conversations that you didn't shut down when you needed to shut them down. And that's the thing, and I want to quickly go back to the conversations and say this part is, don't be afraid to look like the the Jesus freak or something when someone's like, oh, here's the Jesus freak, the goody two shoes. Like, if someone wants to be rude and call you Jesus freak or say certain things to try to make it seem like, you're just weird because you don't engage in certain things, then you don't need to be around them. I will say this is that I have experienced really nothing but positivity. Like, people will know, like, okay, we have to kind of clean it up in front of Christina. Like, we can't say certain things in front of her. Like, they do it out of respect. Like, okay, like, let's just monitor and be careful. And I don't see that as anything to be ashamed of. I see it as that's honorable for someone to know, hey, like, Christina don't get down like that. We are not. So we need to make sure we're just being respectful to her and that she's not having to hear something. Sometimes we got to give some people a little bit of grace in some ways. Like, if we see they are really trying to just, like, clean up their conversations around you and they're doing the best they can. That's always something to, commend them for that. But you also don't have to be in their little, like, bubble. You don't have to be near them. You can just kind of keep the distance as much as you need to. And that even sends a message. And, whether the person some people might feel some type of way, they might get mad, they might feel like, oh, they're stuck up, or they think it's like, well, yeah, be willing to look stuck up to protect yourself from the nonsense that other people are on, because people would love nothing more but to drag you into the crowd, into the mess. Remember, we are to stand out. We're not to blend in. So it's good that you're standing out. It's good that they see it. So be happy if that is happening to you. But yeah, that's all I really have for the spiritual. It's just short and sweet because we know, again, we wrestle in the spiritual realm and not against flesh and blood. And this is where the fight actually starts. And if we put all of this stuff in practice, everything that I talked about, we will be good to go. And remember that these are things we have to do daily. The word says renew your mind daily. Get in the word daily. It isn't something that we can just do once and then, we don't be in the word for like a whole 2 months and then nope. every day, renewing the mind every single day, because it is a daily walk and a daily fight in the spirit. So the more of these parameters that you can control, as far as just in controlling your environment and the people you're around, and the things you listen to and you watch, and the things you talk about, and all of that, the more you control those things, and do it in a very, I should say, I won't say control, I'll say steward, because you can't really control everything, but you can steward these areas of your life properly. So that is it. I know it's just like, I wanted to make sure this was shorter, because I was like editing the last episode and I was like, oh my gosh, it is so long. I didn't mean for it to be a whole hour, but it ended up being an hour. But hey, I let the spirit flow. And so again, I hope this is a blessing for you. Once again, I always say this: get plugged into a church and make sure that you have strong believers and strong people around you. And again, join the community, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you can be a part of the community and be notified when I upload videos. There's so many things. God is so good. There's so many things that I want to talk about that I am getting out for y'all very, very soon. So don't miss out. Make sure you're subscribed. But that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this part 2 of Sex and the Single Christian While You Struggle. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.